Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us here for Learn Kartra Live. How is everyone doing today? Hope you're all doing well, enjoying your summers. All right, looks like we got a few people in, just waiting for a couple more to join. We'll give it about a minute or two while people are getting into the room. If this is your first time joining us for one of these Learn Kartra Live events, we can do a little introduction here to what you can expect. So first things first, this webinar is being recorded, so you guys don't have to worry about taking notes or, after the webinar is over, you're going to get an email with the recording, and you can just rewatch it at any time if you need to follow along or see something again that you need to rewatch. We urge you guys to ask your questions during the webinar. At the end, we're going to have a Q&A where I'm going to go through and answer all of your questions that you guys have. So be sure to get them in there if something comes up. If you're not sure about something, just pop it in the chat and we'll get to it later. Also, Shannon is here to answer any of your questions in the chat if you guys have them. So, take advantage of that too. And at the end of this event, or if you guys have time now, please feel free to fill out our feedback survey. This event actually is going to be on survey, so this is a good example to see what we're going to be talking about here. But this feedback also gives us a lot of insight on what you guys want to see, what works, what doesn't work, and just give us a little, feedback on what you guys may want to see in the next demonstration. So hopefully, looks like we got a bunch of people here. Hey, Darren, nice to see you. Michigan, nice. I have a couple friends in Michigan right now. I've personally never been. I keep saying I'm going to go out and visit them ever since they moved, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say too, me and Alex were talking before about sometimes we like to ask a personal question, and what is the most recent body of water you have been in was one of those. I was in the Pacific Ocean recently, so we were just talking about that, but feel free to throw that in the chat. I know it's summertime for some, so probably some vacationing happening. What about you, Alex? What's your most recent?
The most recent body of water I've been in was my friend's pool. He has a in-ground. He just bought a house in Jersey. So for everyone, I'm on the East Coast here. I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So it's been nice. We don't like the Jersey beaches are nice, but they have nothing on the Pacific Ocean. So
Yep. Awesome. Well, we're going to wait one more minute before we start today.
Yeah, looks like we got a couple people joining in. Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, let's actually go ahead and kick things off. Looks like we have a good amount of people. Anyone coming in after, of course, can just watch the recording. Don't want to take up too much more of your time here, guys. So let's hop into today's topic, which is going to be how to segment your audience with surveys. So in this session, we're going to teach you guys how to find out what your contacts are interested in, how to group your contacts automatically based on the answers that they're giving you, and how to send the right emails and offers to the right people. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. And we're just going to start with a little introduction to kind of get your feet wet, introduce the topic that we're going to talk about today. So let's just start by talking about something that I'm sure most of you have experienced every day, and that is personalized ads. So when you're going through platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Amazon, really any platform now that you might go online with, they're going to try to figure out what you're interested in based on your activity. So this includes things like, what you search for, things that you click on, or maybe something that you've watched. And then they're going to use that information that they've gathered to show you ads that they think that you will be interested in. So for example, right, like I'm a huge gamer. Whenever I am on Facebook, I get a bunch of ads for gaming and tech. Whereas my girlfriend, she's very into fashion. We're on the same application, right? But she'll see things like, clothes that are being advertised to her or different crafting supplies, right? So that's just an example of, right, how these platforms are targeting you as an individual based on things that they know about you. But these platforms aren't always right. Sometimes you see an ad that's completely irrelevant because these platforms are making their best guesses based on the limited information that they have about you. So you might find yourself in a similar situation with your business. While you may know the type of people that you're trying to reach, you may not know much about each individual person. Are they just getting started? Or what challenges are they facing? What are they hoping to achieve? The more that you learn about your audience, the easier it becomes to recommend the right products or next steps. Well, how do you learn more about your audience and provide a better experience than just these generic personalized ads, right? Well, that it's pretty simple. All you need to do is ask them questions directly. And when you're asking questions to your leads, to your audience, every question that you ask should have a purpose. The answers that you get should help you understand what matters most to each lead and decide what content, offer, or next step is the best fit for them based on the answers that they provide you. So it's just as important to think about what not to ask as well. You don't want to ask too many questions, right? This means keep your survey short. The more questions that you ask, the less likely people are to finish it. So just focus on the questions that matter most and make them quick and easy to answer. The second thing is to focus on the questions that matter most and make them quick. You should only ask questions you will actually use. So if the answer to one of your questions won't change what happens next, like what emails they'll receive or the resources you recommend them or the path that you send them down, then it's probably not worth asking that question. The goal here should never be to collect as much information as possible. You want to make sure that you're collecting the right information so that you can create a better experience for every contact that you have. So what does this look like in practice, right? I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but let's just go through an example to walk through it with you guys together. Let's say, imagine you are a retirement coach, right? You offer several different resources that may include a monthly newsletter, a ebook download, an online course, and maybe your main thing is one-on-one coaching sessions. So not every contact is going to be looking for the same thing, right? So your goal is to recommend the option that's the best fit for each person. To do that, you need to learn a little more about those people first. So with this all in mind, what questions could you ask to understand their experience level and recommend the next appropriate step? Well, let's see what that would look like. You can start by asking these simple questions, going back to our framework earlier. Maybe you start with one simple question like, do you currently have a retirement plan? And make it very easy to answer with a simple yes or no response, right? And then from there, you can ask follow-up questions based on their response. So for example, if somebody says yes, then you're coming back and you're asking, well, how confident are you with your current retirement plan? Well, if they answer no, you ask a different follow-up question, something like, well, what's the biggest reason you haven't created a retirement plan yet? And by asking these different follow-up questions, you can learn a little more about each person's situation without making the survey feel long or overwhelming. The important thing is to think about what you will do with each answer. So going back to our example where we have those 4 different services that we'd like to recommend as a retirement coach, each response that we have for each of these questions should help us identify which resource is likely to be the most helpful for that person, which brings us to our next topic, which is going to be segmenting your audience. So now that you've asked them your questions and you've gotten to those end 4 results here, now we can match those segments based on our services. So for example, somebody who says, I'm on the right track and I don't need any help, probably isn't looking for coaching. So instead, you could invite them to join your monthly newsletter so that they could continue receiving helpful tips and updates. Whereas someone who says, I'm not sure and I would like professional help, is a great candidate for a discovery call. They already have a retirement plan, but they're looking for expert guidance to make sure that they're making the right decisions. And then if somebody says, I haven't had time to make it a priority yet, they may not be ready to speak with a coach. So instead, you could offer a free trial to your online course. This will allow them to learn at their own pace whenever it's most convenient for them. And then finally, someone who says, I don't know where to start, they would likely benefit from your ebook, right? Because it's a simple, low commitment resource that introduces the basics without feeling overwhelming or feeling like they're jumping into above their head. So notice that each of these recommendations matches the person's situation. The real value of collecting customer insights is this here. Instead of sending the same message to everyone, you're learning more about them so that you can guide each lead toward the resource that's most likely to help them. Whereas, you could just market your discovery calls to everyone, but you'll notice people that aren't ready might not be able to take that next step to the discovery call. So instead of offering that to them right away, just get them in at a low entry point for your ebook, and then you can nurture them over time. Alrighty, so how do you do this all with Kartra, right? So we kind of went over the strategy a little bit, but let's put this all into practice. To build this type of personalized experience, you'll mainly use two tools inside Kartra. They are going to be surveys and automations. Surveys are going to help you learn more about your contacts by asking them questions. So this is what you're going to use to actually build the survey, right? There are three types of surveys that you can create with Kartra based on the type of questions that you're trying to ask your audience. This ranges from traditional surveys to scored quizzes to personality quizzes as well. And then automations, on the other hand, let Kartra perform tasks automatically based on your contact's actions or their responses to a survey. So in this case, you're going to use automations to actually segment your audience based on their different answers. So, and then from there, you can use Kartra's other tools like emails, memberships for courses, calendars, products, right? All of these other tools to basically direct people to what resource is, most relevant to them. So with all that in mind, let's take a look at what this would actually look like within Kartra. And here's a very simple flow here where you can see on the left-hand side, it all starts with the survey. The survey is going to be that first point of contact. That's where you or your contacts are, basically filling that out and answering these questions. Right next to the survey, they are going to get the automations are going to fire anytime somebody completes that survey. And those automations are going to segment people into one of these four groups based on what resource is, most valuable to them. So we'll send people down the newsletter path. We'll send people down the discovery call path, the online course path, ebook download path based on, their responses. And you can see here that with the automations, we're using other Kartra tools to basically organize these contacts. So with the newsletter, they're all going to be subscribed to a list. With all the other ones, the discovery call, the online course, the ebook download, we're going to tag all of their contacts. The reason that we're tagging them for these other ones is just for an identifier, whereas everyone getting the newsletter should be on a list because they're going to be receiving communications. From there, we are going to use a sequence to deliver what is, what that person would actually benefit most from. So you can see next to each segment, there is a sequence that they're all going into. And then for everything like the discovery call, the online course, they're going to get that actual thing. The sequence will deliver it. So in the discovery call case, they're going to get a link to the calendar so that they could, sign up for a discovery call. Whereas with the online course, they're going to get access to the membership, which is where the online course is hosted with Kartra. And then for the ebook download, just a simple media file download that's hosted by Kartra. So you can see it all starts with the survey. The automations are what's going to segment your audience into those different groups. And then from there, you can use sequences to send emails automatically to each group, delivering what matters most to them. So Hopefully that all makes sense. If you guys have questions, be sure to put them in the chat about anything. And we are going to hop into the live demonstration here now. So what I'm going to do is go into Kartra and kind of build a survey from scratch so that you guys can see how this whole process works. So bear with me 1 second. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and we will get into that. And while I am bringing this up, guys, what kind of surveys are you guys planning on creating? Are you creating more quiz-styled questionnaires? Are you doing traditional surveys where you're going to be asking your clients questions? What specifically are you trying to create when you guys are going to be building out your surveys? Alrighty, and you should see my screen here now. Looks like it's good. All right. Alrighty, guys. So to create a survey in Kartra, you are going to go to the contact section of your account and the left-hand side, and then you'll see surveys right above the imports at the bottom. So if we go ahead and click surveys, it'll take us to the survey section of the account. Now, let me move myself over here to the left so that you guys can see a little better. All right. So to create a new survey, you just click the plus survey button, just like a lot of other things in Kartra. So we'll give that a click. And then we can see that there are 3 different types of surveys that you can create. I'm just going to do a traditional survey. We're actually going to build out the example that I showed you in the slide presentation earlier, so that it's something that's easy. You can do a scored quiz, which is kind of like a test, pass, failing grade, or a personality quiz, which is assigning or subtracting points based on the answers. But traditional survey, we'll just call it retirement prospect survey. And we'll go ahead and hit the create button to start building. And like many other things in Kartra, you always have that step-by-step configuration, right? Well, the first things first, we are going to build the survey itself. So in this question step, we have the content, and we can edit this to open the survey builder. And like most other builders in Kartra, you have all of your tools here on the side, and then the actual builder canvas in the middle here. There are 2 views that you can view your survey from. There's the horizontal scroll and the vertical scroll options. I'm going to leave it as horizontal scroll, and you can also see how your survey is going to look on different devices. So if I wanted to see how it looked on mobile device, I could click that and it'll reformat it. But to start building your survey, let's start with our questions. The first thing is the question box here. So under questions, this is where you can go ahead and start adding each of your questions. And we'll start with our first one, which is going to be that, do you have a retirement plan? So when we click this add question button, we can choose what type of question we are going to create. Well, basically how it's going to look, right? Do you want the question to have only text? Do you want the question to have an image? If you want to make it look a little better, maybe you want the question to have the image on the left-hand side, kind of 2 columns, or maybe you want a little video to play above it. You get to choose how the question is going to appear. I'm just going to do only text just to keep things simple. And then once you click that, you get to choose what type of answers are going to be available, right? You have obviously all the options, single question, short answer. For our first question, since it's just a yes or no option, I'm going to go ahead and click binary, and we can hit save to add the question in. And it just fills up our canvas with that little template here. So first things first, let's go ahead and change the question name itself. So I'll go in here and actually type in, do you have a retirement plan? And then, of course, we can adjust the color if we want to. We can change the size. Maybe I want the text size to be like, let's make it 28. And let's center it. I don't have any text that's going to go below here. You could if you were adding a description, but for my question, it's just keeping things simple, so I'll delete that. And then we have our answers here, true or false. I'm going to change them from true and false to yes and no. You also have the option to choose different designs here. Like there is a yes or no answer, but you still have to add text. That's why I just like leaving it as the check and the X. That way I can just have the yes and no added as text. We want to make sure that this is a mandatory question. Everyone filling out our survey should be answering all the questions. So we're going to force it to mandatory. And then we can add the question to the lead's profile. What this means is that if you click on a contact's profile in your account, you can see their answers, their results as a custom field right on their profile section. So if you want to do that, you can just switch that on. You just need to create a custom field identifier. But let's put in our custom field question. I'm just going to paste the question again. Do you have a retirement plan? And then maybe our field identifier is just retirement. So once this all looks good, we can hit apply. And now we have our first question added to our survey is, do you have a retirement plan? Yes or no? And then from there, we can follow the same process to add our next two questions, right? So we'll go in here and add a question, and we'll say this one is only text again. And for this one, we have a single text option. So I'll go ahead and choose that, hit save. And then I'm going to go in here and add, edit my question just like I did the first one. So we'll change the question title at the top, do our text size. I'm going to keep the font the same. We don't care about the additional text, so we can delete that. And then we're going to update our text options that people can choose from. So our first response was people can say that they are on the right track and don't need any help. So we'll save that. And then maybe our second option is, I'm not sure and I would like some help. And we only have 2 responses. We don't have 4. So I can go in here and delete these other text options since we don't need them. And if I wanted to add a new one later, you can just add it in here. Again, we're going to make this mandatory because we want people to fill this out. It is a new question, so we'll keep this selected on as well. And then for the custom field question, I'm just going to go ahead and copy the question in again. How confident are you with your current retirement plan? And why not? Let's add it to their lead profile. Maybe we'll call this a, experience. That's a good one. Confidence, I think, is a better one. How confident are they? And we'll hit apply. And now you can see we have our second question added. And you'll see it here on the sidebar, question 1, question 2. And we can even scroll through to see how it looks, right? Because we have a horizontal scroll. Do you have a retirement plan? Yes. Go to the next page. Here's our second question. All right, one more question that we have to add, kind of similar to question 2. So go in here, choose only text, single text option. And now we have our third question that we can ask. So third one was, what is stopping you from creating a retirement plan? Go in here, just make sure everything is consistent with the rest of our survey. Delete our additional text and then edit our answers. So custom field question, just paste that in again. And then our responses. So somebody could say, I haven't had the time to make it a priority yet. Or they could say, I don't know where to start. And then we can remove the additional options there. And why not? Let's go ahead and again, make it mandatory and add it to a lead profile. We'll say that these are blockers. All right, hit apply. So now we have our 3 questions in our survey set up, right? The first question was, do you have a retirement plan? Second question was, how confident are you with the retirement plan? If they say yes. Third question is, what's stopping you from creating a retirement plan? Now, this would be perfect if I wanted people to answer all of the questions, right? Starting from question 1, going to 2, going to 3, but that's not how I want them to do it. I want them to basically start with question 1, and then based on their answer, I want to either send them to question 2 or send them to question 3. So how am I going to do that? Well, right next to where it says questions here on the sidebar, there is a little configure branch path. It looks like a little cog wheel. If you click this, you can change your survey from linear to branched paths. So let's go ahead and hit that. And we'll say question 1, yes. If somebody answers yes, we can choose that it's going to go to question 2. And then if somebody answers no, we'll send them down to question 3. Perfect. Now you'll see here from question 2, we'll also have to determine where they're going to after, but we'll get to that in a little bit since we're not done yet. So we'll apply that. And now we have it set to where if somebody's answering question 1 as yes, go to question 2. The answer it is no, they're going to go to our question 3. Now, this is all great. But the goal, again, is to learn more about your contacts. And you're not going to know who is filling out your survey unless you add identification. So below the question step, there is this identification step. And if you go ahead and click this, it's going to add an identification step to the end of your survey. Basically, it's just a form. So you can see here, I'm going to choose the only text option. And what it's going to do is add a form that somebody can submit to basically provide you with their information. And this is crucial because this step is what tells Kartra, okay, this specific person filled out this survey and these are their answers. If they're not filling out this step, it's going to come through as an anonymous survey response, and it's not going to be connected to any specific contact in your account. So let's go in here and just edit our identification. I like always saying something like, you're almost done, just to let people know that, hey, you did it. There's only one step left. And maybe here we are going to add a little description just because we want to make sure people are filling this out. So we'll say something like, provide your contact information and we'll send you resources and recommendations that best match your current situation. So now we have our identification step here added at the end. So great. The last thing that we can add is a success. So this is after they complete the survey, what screen are they going to see? Now you can choose a simple template, just like all the other questions or the identification step we set up, where you just, are adding text and that says something like, well done. Or you could also redirect them to another page if you have a page built specifically for them. I think we do have a page built. So let me just go in here and see. Where's that? Survey success page. Yep. So if you have a page built, you can just send them there. I'm going to do that. Or you can just have a little screen pop up that says, congratulations, you completed the survey. And you can do different success pages if you are doing that linear branch path. Alrighty, now that we've added our identification and the success, let's go back to our branch paths that we were creating earlier, again, by clicking that cog wheel on the left-hand side. And then we can choose where people are going to after they complete their next question. So we're going to be sending everyone to the ID form afterwards, because that is the next step. And then from the ID form, they're automatically going to go to the success after, because that'll always count as like the last step. So perfect. We have it all set up here. Just hit apply to make our changes save. And then if you really wanted to, you could add an intro cover, just like it sounds. It's a little introduction cover that's going to show up before the first question on your survey. I'm going to skip this for now, but if you wanted to, add a little more branding, have a little cover image available that people will see before they actually dive in and take the survey, you can add that there as well. But alrighty, so we have our questions. We can take a look at how it's going to look maybe as a vertical scroll if we wanted to. You can see like, scrolling through the whole survey. And then we can also see how it looks from a mobile device if we wanted to. Cool. And I noticed that the text size is inconsistent here. So always a good way to, check your survey at the end is just by clicking these and seeing how everything looks. All right, and that is our survey all built, but we're not quite done yet. Again, the second part we have to do is the automation. So we'll go ahead and save and exit here. Now we have our survey built that people can go ahead and answer. Oh, I didn't mean to go back in and edit the survey. Let's go back. All right, save and exit. All right, from here, we're going to move on to the next step, which is the settings. So if we go over to the settings step, we can add our logo if we wanted to. So we can go in here and choose a logo. I'm just going to leave it off. And then we could do a confirmation email. I'm not going to do a confirmation. Well, yeah, we can leave it. It's just the default one. Might as well just leave it for now. And you can adjust this confirmation email as you see fit. Again, it's just an email that's automatically going to go out to everyone that completes your survey, just saying, hey, you completed this survey, and you can have any other custom message that you want in there. From there, but though the important step is the automations. This is where you're going to go ahead and segment your audience based on their responses. So where you're doing that is going to be down here in the automation step. So if we go and click plus new automation, this is where all of the, the real work comes into place, right? Because you're asking these questions. And if you want Kartra to do all of this automatically for you, you're going to need to know how to set up your automations. So if you're new to automations, don't worry, they're pretty simple. It's always going to be an if-then statement. If something happens, then Kartra is going to do something. So in our case, we're going to say if somebody completes this survey, that'll always be the first option there. But then we're going to add on to that. If someone completes this survey, and we can look through this list here, what we're looking for is response to a survey question is. So let's take a look. Context response to a survey question is. You can also do is not. You can also do contains if you have an open-ended question. We kept it simple with the multiple choice options. So we can just do context response to a survey question is, and then we'll select our survey. Oh, sorry. Crap, it's actually not going to show up here. So before you do that, sorry, just backtrack. You do have to publish your survey. That way it shows up in the list of options. So now when we go back here, it should show up. So if contact completes survey, add, and contact's response to a survey question is. And now our survey should show up here. Yep, retirement prospect survey. There it is now. Awesome. And then we can select our questions. So the question 2, and we'll say, I'm not sure and would like professional help, or I'm on the right track and don't need help. Let's start with I'm on the right track and don't need help. So that's going to be the people that are getting our newsletter, right? So we can say if somebody completes the survey and they respond that they're on the right track and they don't need help, well, we're going to segment them. We're going to subscribe them to our newsletter recipient list so that they can get our newsletters in the future. So that's how you are setting up your automations. And you're going to have to do this for every response that you have, every segmentation group that you have. So this is our first one. We can hit save. You can see the automation is in here now. And then we can add our next one. So second verse, same as the first. If contact completes this survey and their response to a survey question is, it's always near the bottom. Then we can choose our retirement survey, question 2, and the other option where they want professional help. Let's go ahead and assign them to a tag, assign a tag to them. So we'll say they're going to get our, do I have it as a category? Yeah, retirement. we'll say they are going to get the discovery call, right? Because they want to, basically they have a retirement plan and they're looking for professional help. So we'll add this, and you can add your lists, your tags in here, as you're building out your automations, or you can do it beforehand. You'll notice that I had already built out my list and tags based on the different groups that I wanted. But if you were doing it all, in here, you can do it here as well. I'll show you the button to click in a second. But again, we'll go into our third question. Again, you see it's a lot of repetition, right? When you're adding these automations, just to make sure everything is squared away. So their response is, and then we'll go to our question 3 now, and we'll choose I haven't had time to make it a priority yet. And then we can add our assigned tag. And then here is the option to create a new tag. If you need to, you can just click it here and it'll open the tag section of your account if you don't already have those segments made. But let's just say the retirement experience, and then these people are getting our online course. Save. Now we have 3 automations, and then our last automation, but not least, is going to be anyone that completes this survey and their response to a survey question is question 3. I don't know where to start. And these are the people that are going to get our ebook. So we'll say retirement experience and then ebook add. Awesome. So that is how you are segmenting your contacts based on their responses. And you can see this is a very simple survey where it's just if they complete the survey and their response to a question is something, then we're segmenting them. You could take this a step further, right? Kartra really, that's the power of Kartra, is you have all of these tools available. You could stack multiple automations on top of each other. You could say if they answer this question this way and another question this way, then they go into that group. Right? So it just really depends on your strategy on how you want to set them up. But just know that these automations are important, right? This is how Kartra is going to do all of this segmentation automatically for you on the back end when people are completing your survey. So we have our 4 automations set up and we are good to go. That's really the last step. If you wanted to embed your survey to an external platform, you could do that here, and you can review survey responses here. But at the top, once you're all done, here is the link to your survey at the top. You could rename it if you want to. I'm just going to keep it simple and I'll copy it here. And let's just go ahead and take a look at what it looks like. So open a new tab and let's just go into it. So you can see the logo at the top, and then we have it set as vertical scrolls. So we're going in here. We'll start with our first one. Do you have a retirement plan? And then we're going to go in and say, how confident are you? And then I'll submit my answer and then finish the survey. And then it's going to our success page where it just says, thanks, check your inbox. And then I can go to my inbox to see, that confirmation email and my next steps. And what's also really cool is you have, say our next step in this case was that I wanted to send this person down a discovery call. Now I'm not going to get too much into this, but if you go to the sequences step of your, account and say anyone that answers that they need a discovery call, well, you could just set up a sequence where if they get that tag to get the discovery call, then they're automatically going to get these emails. Maybe first is going to be that survey confirmation, then they're going to get a discovery call offer, then they'll get maybe a discount if they didn't take that first offer, and then maybe they'll get a final offer all over the course of 5 days here. So that is how you do it all with Kartra. I know it was a lot, just kind of going through that quickly, but I wanted to show you guys how to really set up that survey from beginning to end. So hopefully that was helpful. And if you guys have any questions about anything, we can go into that here now. So let's take it away. Shannon, do we have any questions in the chat?
Nope, there have not been any questions yet.
All right, no worries.
So
Yeah,
one
looks
of
good.
the things that I was going to bring up was that for something I was thinking as you were going through the event, a question that came up for my own thoughts was when you were when you were at the tags section, if you could just, like you just explained again, the tags that you're setting up don't actually like offer the course to somebody. It doesn't
Right.
actually create the calendar that you need to create with to send out to someone if they take that path. So the tags are really just your way of organizing
Exactly.
things. So
Yeah, the
I just
tags
wanted
are
to
there
pay
to
attention.
organize, right? So you're using the automations to segment people into those groups, and those groups, how they look in Kartra, can be lists or they can be tags, right? Just depending on how you are, segmenting those groups out, right? So if it's a tag, you would just assign it as a tag, or if it's a list, you would assign it as a list. And you'll see in your contacts section of your account, you have your lists, and everyone on my newsletter recipients list, you can see there's 4 people in that group. And then if I go to my tags, tags are listed in the contact section under this tab here. You can see that, there should be people tagged as they are filling out the survey with those responses. So there's the discovery call, the online course, and the ebook tag that are going to be going to people. And then if you want to send people automated messages, sequences are always going to be your best friend. So if we take a look at our discovery call offer sequence, how people get into sequences is you set the rules. So in this case, it could be someone filling out an opt-in form. It could be somebody receiving a tag. And this is going to be everyone who receives the online course tag is going to be automatically added to this email sequence, and they're going to start receiving the emails that we have sent. And again, that tag is applied from those automations in the survey. So if somebody completes the survey and answers, the questions saying that they would like professional help, they're going to get that online course tag, and then they're going to, saying that they don't have enough time, then they're going to get that online course tag, be added to this, sequence, and then get the message about the online course. Or if it was a discovery call, they get the discovery call tag, go into a separate sequence to get those messages. Does that make sense, right? So basically the sequence is your way of delivering whatever message or content or offer that you have after you've segmented them into those different groups.
Perfect. And we do have 2 other questions. Before we get to those 2 questions, there was actually another that I think comes up a lot. And when we go into the survey section, whenever you're looking at the analytics, you'll notice that each of the questions is named something. And one thing that we didn't really touch on today is just how to name your question so you know what you're looking for within the analytics too.
Yeah.
So it's something that I've seen come up a good bit. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah. So if you go to surveys, what Shannon's talking about, if you go to surveys, analytics, you're going to see like the different surveys that you have, and you'll also see like the different questions. And when I was building out the survey, you may have noticed like it was listed question 1, question 2, question 3. You can change those so that it's not question 1, 2, or 3, that it's an actual, question name. That way you have an easier way to refer to it. How you would do that is you just come to your question. So here's my question 1, and there should be the option to edit it. And then you can change the step name. So instead of question 1, we could say, retirement plan, hit save. And now you can see that is what our first question is referring to. And we can do that for all 3 of our questions if we wanted to. Maybe our second question is going to be what confidence level. And then maybe our third one is blockers.
That was the ID step one you accidentally clicked.
Oh, you're right. Question 3 would be blockers. This would be Identification. But you can see, right? You're going through and next to each one, if it's horizontal scroll, you'll see it here at the top, or and you can just hit that edit button, and that'll be where you go to change them. And then you'll see in your analytics, it'll refer to each question: retirement plan, confidence level, retirement blockers, that way.
Great showing there. Sorry, I was reading the other two questions we had. The other thing I wanted to point out too is when we were filling out the survey earlier, we did a branch path survey. So it's actually better to use the horizontal scroll when you're doing the branch path, so that you only see the question. So they only see the question that you want them to see at that point too.
Yep.
And just changing exactly to linear versus branch. So that was one thing we had forgotten to do, but if you do want it to just show the question that they would refer to, that would be how you would do that there. So
yeah, and this is what the horizontal one looks like, just for your perspective, right? So it's only going to show one question at a time. If they hit yes, go to the next, then it'll show the next question. How confident are you? And then it should go to the identification, right? It should be a 2 question based on how they're answering it.
Awesome. Also, we had a question from Darren. Do you recommend creating automation specifically within each survey, or creating sequences that already have automations?
You could do it either.
Depends.
Yeah. I'd say you could do it either way. I think it's always easier to do your segmentation automations within the survey itself. The reason being is that you have one place where you can see all of them. If you're doing it within your sequences, each sequence is going to have one automation. Can be kind of, a little confusing down the line if you need to refer to all of them and just make sure they're all set up correctly. But you could definitely do it that way too, right? You could have a sequence where the starting rule is if somebody answers a survey and their response to a survey question is something, then add them to the sequence, right? That would work perfectly fine. I like it this way because you're seeing all of the automations in one place. And then you can also assign, a tag. I think that is a good step, rather than just putting them right into a sequence, making sure that you're grouping these people so that down the line you can, go to everyone that has this tag and see a list of all those people, right? But, it's really up to you at the end of the day.
Tomato.
Right.
For sure. And then also I always say keep it simple, silly, right? Everything you do in Kartra, what is this? It can get so robust. So what is the simplest ways you can do things? And if you know that your survey is where you're setting up the automations every time, then do it within your survey. If you're using your sequences to set up your automations every time, then keep it consistent with doing it within your sequences. So whatever you're doing, just keep it consistent so that you have a standard operating process for everything that you're doing within your own account. With anything in business, it's helpful to be able to hand that information over to someone so that they could be able to do it if they needed to too. So
awesome.
Another question was, are we going to receive a replay email, or do we find it in Kartra? So you will receive a replay email in a couple hours. We also add these to our Kartra Help Center, so you can find it in the Help Center as well by clicking on the K at the bottom right-hand corner. You can access our Resource Center from there. You also can use that Help K to access our support bot as well.
Yeah. And there's our YouTube channel that everything's added to as well. If you're more of a YouTube person, you can find it there.
And you can also ask us for it. We will send it to you if you really are struggling to find it. So we're here to help. Just respond to any of the emails you received related to this event. So it looks like we don't have any more questions at the moment. Sharon said she loves the Kartra bot. We do too. Yep. Fun fact, it can answer a lot of your questions. It is also where you can sign up for future, webinars we're hosting. And then, you can ask a question, like if we wanted to ask something about segmenting, or, as we're working on a survey, how do I name my questions of my survey? Maybe that's a question maybe that's an answer that we want to ask Kai. If we ask, it should give us that information on the fly. So, yeah.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah. I will give you guys 1 more minute to throw any other questions our way. If not, we will hop off here 10 minutes early. But yeah.
Yeah, well, let's see if we get anything else. But otherwise, yeah, thanks guys for joining in, right? We know not everyone has access to surveys, but we hope that if you do have access to the surveys feature, that you do take advantage of it, right? It's a very easy way to learn more about your contacts and really, again, send them the right message, right? That's, I think, the biggest goal here is that when you're learning more about people, you can really tailor to what they need the most. And if you're someone with multiple offers and you're sending everyone to the same offer, but only like 10 people are biting, well, why are only 10 of those people biting? Well, it might be because all of the other people aren't ready for that step yet, or maybe they're advanced beyond that step and they need something, a little more. So always a helpful way to get that information in.
And the last tidbit I wanted to throw out, if you currently are on growth, that is the plan that you'll have access to surveys. If you're on essentials or starter, you won't. But there is ways to segment and ask questions using forms as well. So, don't worry if you aren't on the growth plan yet. You can always great to get on the growth plan, but if you aren't ready to yet, you can use forms to also ask some questions and set up some automations as well. It's just not going to be as robust as and I would say easy to create as you could in the survey builder. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh, you're very welcome, Shannon. Or Sharon, sorry. I'm seeing Shannon's name.
It's okay. We're with my family this weekend, and my aunt's name is Shauna. So I've been getting Shauna, Sharon, Shannon all mixed up. So,
but yeah, you're very welcome, guys. Sharon. Glad we could help. Well, if there's no more questions, we won't take up too much more of your time. Again, it was a pleasure having you all here, and we want to thank you all for joining us. If you're not a Kartra user and you're joining this, feel free to scan the QR code below and get a free trial. If you are a Kartra user, please feel free to take what we've showed you, implement it, and reach out to us with, how did it go? Do you have questions? Are you stuck? We're always here to help. You can email onboarding@kartra.com. That'll come to our team and we can respond to you personally. So yeah.
Well, nice to see everyone and have a wonderful rest of your Thursday.
Yep. Enjoy your day, guys. It was a pleasure. Thank you. And we'll see you in the next one. Keep an eye out for the recording and an eye out for news about future events. Bye.